Real quick, just for the families out there, and obviously I sent out the information via email. And, as I mentioned when I kind of introduced this with the Sports Force, you know, I, obviously the college recruiting piece and helping families is a huge part of, what I always try to do with Regis. And, there's a million different opportunities and companies out there that do different stuff. And in talking to Andrew and John and just what they do here, I really felt like this was some knowledge and some information that would be great for our families. And again, you know, as I always share with families, my three goals in helping kids here at Regis is, become better men, win a state championship, and then play at the next level if that's what you desire. And the next level thing has become even more complicated and even harder all the time. I know as parents, there's a ton of questions and a ton of misconceptions out there, but I felt this was a great opportunity for our families, just to those interested, to find out a little bit more about what these guys do, because I know they've worked some of it with some of our kids, but also in talking with them, I just feel like that they've got a good grasp of everything that's going on, the changes, and how to best attack this process. Because I can tell you from experience with kids that I've been dealing with recently, it's just getting more complicated and harder with the portal, with the kids getting older in college. It's difficult. So I'm going to turn it over to these guys. I think it'll be great. Obviously, if anybody has questions for me, feel free to follow up, and then I may skip out at some point whenever this game gets rolling. But thank you guys for doing this for our families. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Coach. Thanks for the intro.
Coach.
And yeah, let's get started. So we got a lot to cover tonight. I'm going to start sharing my slides, and we're going to be recording, all of this. So if at any point there's someone who's not there in the family, just understand that we got your back. We'll be able to share the recording as well. And so kind of just laying out a little brief introduction on myself, and then I'll have Coach introduce himself. But I went through this process well over 20 years ago, was recruited much later in the process as a senior, ended up getting recruited nationally by different Division I programs. But I ended up going to Arizona State. I live in San Diego, California. It just made the most sense for everything that we were looking for, from a baseball standpoint, location standpoint, et cetera. But my parents had no clue. My dad never went through the process, didn't play baseball at all. My mom, no clue as well. So we were kind of charting it was uncharted territory for us. Then I went on and played, professional baseball with the Rays and the Rangers organization, and then started this company. It's been 15 years since we originally, started the business, but we recently evolved into what we're doing now. And the platform that we've built, and the whole college advising piece was something that we transitioned over to, and we've been doing that now about a decade. And so I'm going to share, Coach, I'll let you kind of give a quick background of yourself, being based in the Denver area. You're on me.
Yep, thanks. I've been involved coaching, scouting in Colorado, high school baseball for now close to, actually I got involved right out of high school, so about 30 years. And I also had an opportunity to become, I launched Prep Baseball Report Colorado. I did that as the state director for 6 years. Then I got a chance to meet Andrew. And so as far as piggybacking on what Andrew said, I remember too, I played junior college baseball, but I opened up Highlands Ranch High School. And so Highlands Ranch back in those days was a blip on the radar screen, and nothing, I think people know the community, and anything south of County Line Road didn't exist. And so going to Highlands Ranch, we had a pretty good team, and we had some good players, and it was really hard for us in those days to get noticed, mainly because we were a small school. But yeah, I have a true passion of really trying to help players, find the right fit and the school that they want to go to, and play baseball as well. But I feel like I've had my hands in a lot of different areas, and when it comes to helping Colorado kids, and I know that when I had an opportunity to meet Andrew, I saw this as a really great opportunity to help Colorado baseball, and that's pretty much what my number one passion is to help Colorado baseball at the high school level, the junior college level, any level I can, because I'm just pretty proud of this state and what it develops and what it produces in regards to the game of baseball.
And coach has a senior right now who's in the middle of the recruiting process, talking to college coaches as we speak. So
yeah.
He's not only been through it as a coach, but also living and breathing it as a parent. And so coach is our Colorado based, college recruiting advisor. And so a wealth of knowledge, also a wealth of contacts. But here's the agenda. We're going to go over, like we just did, some introductions, a little bit of background on us, and then we're going to dive right into some of the key recruiting facts and figures. We're going to talk about today's challenges, some of the competition, and how to evaluate camps, what we're hearing from college coaches, and then ultimately how to get, the biggest recruiting advantage possible. And before we get in, when I talk about some of the challenges and competition in camps, I'm going to introduce the Bell family, which we worked with one-on-one, just for Michael and any Andrew or anyone else in the family, if Shannon's on as well, to be able to just share what their experience was like, going from trying to navigate this recruiting process on their own, and making sure that the best approach was taken as well. So we got a full agenda tonight. We're going to try to keep this at about an hour, maybe a little bit longer with some questions. But we've been doing this a while, really over 10 plus years doing the college advising piece. And we've had players go to big time schools, SEC schools, Power 5 schools, to mid-major Division I schools, to Division II, Division III, and some schools you've never even heard of. What I would say is there's three things that stick out for players and families to be most successful in this process. Number one is being open-minded. Being in the state of Colorado, there's only a limited amount of baseball opportunities. So there's a ton of other schools and other programs that are out there, and really expanding beyond even just the Colorado or the Mountain or the West Coast. Being open-minded to schools potentially all over the country is helpful. You can always say no. Number two is being coachable on and off the field and in the recruiting process as well. What Coach Dar mentioned earlier is that recruiting's become more dynamic, more complicated than ever before. COVID was one thing. Now this transfer portal is a whole nother animal that's changing how recruiting's being done. And the competition has become more and more stiff. And then the final thing is being proactive. So for us, when we're advising a family and we're saying, hey, we need you to get some new video. I can remember with, Andrew and the Bell family, I said, we need to see some more defensive footage. College coaches that I'm talking to want to see where you've improved defensively. So within a week, they were out there shooting video, on a field, getting footage so that we could edit it, put it together, and then have it as good reference material to be able to share with coaches. So that's like just one example of being coachable in the process. As I mentioned, there's schools all over the country. And so for Colorado families, being open-minded is critical. We actively talk right now with me, our staff, and just as a whole kind of organization. We talk with over 1,000 college coaches that we're in communication with every month. And so that ranges from big time D1s all the way down to, D3 and JUCOs. But that target list of schools that we often see from families that are just trying to do this process on their own is often too small of a target list, or sometimes it's not the most realistic target list. And so that's also part of this process. I want to kind of pull this up here because I want to talk about, baseball in Colorado, and what are the numbers, Division I, Division II, Division III, NAI, and JUCO. Some players and parents, you guys might already know this, or you might know Division I. You got 2 Division Is, right? Air Force and UNC, University of Northern Colorado. But let's look at what else is out there. So just Colorado, 8 Division IIs, 0 Division IIIs, 0 NAIs, and 5 junior colleges. And so I wanted to share that, but now let's look at what does Colorado baseball look like at the different levels. So right now there's 1,000 Colorado baseball players that are playing at some school somewhere. And you get an idea, you look at this and you're like, there's 4 kids from Maine, from Colorado, playing baseball in Maine, 8 in New York, 13 in Pennsylvania, 42 in Texas, 36 in California. You get the idea. It's pretty spread out. So as I look at this, and let me make sure, hold on. I wanted to pull up, maybe this is freezing on me. I wanted to pull up, hold on one sec. I wanted to pull up the feature here that shows you a little bit more deeper dive. Hold on. I think I got to log out and log back in, but while that is loading up here, I want to. All right, let's take a look here. So let's try this one more time. I want to pull up Colorado and then I want to show you. Okay, here we go. So Division I, Colorado players, 132. So that means of the 1,000 players that are out there, 868 of them are playing Division II, Division III, NAI, or JUCO. So that gives you, we look at Division II, 269 that are playing. Division III, you get the idea, 157 players, and the rest are going to be NAI and JUCO, level players at this point in time. Why do I share this with you? Because it's important to look at the data, because we do this as a company to try to better understand and educate families on, all right, we're suggesting, these specific schools and these specific opportunities. It's based on a ton of experience, but it's also based on where we think there's the highest probability for a good college fit. And that's what this is all about, is finding that right home in terms of that college fit. So, Coach Kukowski, anything you want to add on this?
Yeah, I think that, one of the things that I've always, and a reason why I have that passion for wanting to help Colorado kids, I had an opportunity to also coach for USA Baseball and help with that. And when I would go to Cary a couple of times, there'd be a Mount West team and a couple Colorado kids on it. And that's when I started really kind of getting a feel of, Colorado is kind of on its own island. There's nothing really north of us. The closest west is Salt Lake City, south Albuquerque, east Omaha, so 7-8 hours away. And so I think that what I've learned is that, and especially when I did PBR, is that, sometimes Colorado families have to work, it seems like, a little bit harder to maybe get the right fit and where they want to go. And like Andrew said, there's 1,000 players playing in college, and it's very widespread. But I think that what I've really enjoyed working with SportsForce is learning how just how the overall recruiting process works even more, in a sense, on what you can do to promote your family. But I also think too, Colorado kids, it's very spread out, diverse, from JUCO to D1. But I also feel that Colorado families have just traditionally had to work a little bit harder because, some states back east or in the Midwest, a college coach can travel a 3-hour loop and they can hit a bunch of different states and watch a bunch of different baseball players in that sense. But here, there's not a lot of money for college coaches to come to Colorado and spend money to see. And so I know Colorado families have especially more so recently over the last 10 years, 5 years, felt pressure to go out and get exposed and travel more and whatnot. And the one thing I really love working with Andrew and SportsForce is how we help save money in those kind of situations, and where to invest those kind of funds, and, and help make those decisions on what that best fit is.
Absolutely. And so kind of to hit that point home, what are some of the common recruiting challenges? Not understanding how recruiting works, an unrealistic college target list. It's not easy to be objective and realistic if you've never been through the process and you don't know what the metrics are and what coaches are looking for and their recruiting timeline. Maximizing your recruiting exposure. That's both online and in person, being as strategic as possible. Where to spend, your money and your time. And then, one of the challenges is starting too late. College coaches prefer to track a player for as long as they can to see how that player develops over time. Because college coaches are trying to predict where a player is going to be at 19, 20, 21 years old, which is not easy. But if you have more data on that player's development throughout high school, it helps them. Not just baseball, it's also academic data. What did the athlete do as a freshman? What did they do as a sophomore academically? What classes did they take? Because what we've heard and what we've seen, is that one of the big, reasons that a lot of emphasis is being put on being recruited is the huge advantage in the admissions process. Like, being a recruited baseball player changes the game in terms of how the admissions process works at almost every college in the country. There's a limitation of a few that don't look at athletes differently in the admissions process, but a very, very large majority of them look at the athlete, the recruited student athlete, and their transcript, their test scores, if they're required to take them, much differently than just the normal student trying to get into the school. So number 2, 3, and 4 are all money related, and that's where colleges can figure out putting the best financial package together. And then the 5th one is academic tutoring and registration and counseling as well, which is a huge deal when you're getting, support from that standpoint. One of the big takeaways here is that, each family might have a different set of goals, and players, you might have a different set of goals of what you're looking for, for college. But the impact of college is not just 4 years. It's a lifetime decision. It's a 40-year decision in terms of the impact of it post-college. Finding the right fit, and then what's the level of competition that's out there. And before we kind of jump in on a little bit more, I want to share, and have Coach Kukowski just talk a little bit about what does competition look like at the next level, and what are some of the numbers?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've always when I was a head coach for even softball, when I was a head coach for baseball, and when I would do the scouting, is that, when you look at D1, you know, uh, 305 D1 teams, you know, um, it's hard to get a roster spot in those places. And I think that, one of the things I've always told my players and try to coach, and I know Coach Dar probably does the same thing, is that, let's take congratulations to the Bell family for their recent, committing to Duke, but there's other Andrew Bells out there that are pretty good too. And so what's going to separate Colorado's version versus California's version versus Texas's version? And so there's a lot of things that you can do to help with that. Obviously grades are a big part of it, but there's a lot of competition out there. And I think that the one thing that I've learned with Colorado is I think it can be very eye-opening for Colorado families, not as much today as it was maybe 8 years ago, but just how much competition there is out there. And there's a lot of things families can do to help market and build a resume. And the first thing it starts is the classroom. But then other ways, through SportsForce, I know that we do a really good job of helping get noticed from maybe not necessarily going to a camp, but other ways. But there's a lot of competition out there. And when you think about it, I think right there, odds of playing Division I says itself, it's 2%. There's a 2% chance, and there's a 12% chance of even playing college. And, I know that there's a lot of families out there that say, well, whatever it takes, we're going to go play college baseball someplace, somewhere. And I think that's okay, for that family. But I also think, too, it's a combination, like Andrew said, this is not just a baseball decision. This is a life decision that's going to impact you for the next 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. I think you hit the nail on the head there. One thing I want to kind of jump into, junior college. There are good opportunities for junior college as well. I'm not here to say it's the best path academically, for the college experience, but you can go JUCO and still transfer to a good academic, program. But junior college, depending on the player, the family, it might be the right fit. So I just share that. We've had players that have gone the JUCO route first before they went to a 4-year. I wanted to touch on, let me see, hold on. Yeah. Before I talk a little bit more, I wanted to make this point here. How do college coaches recruit? And what does this recruiting funnel look like? This is important to understand because we've talked about the competition, but we also need to share what's the goal. So a typical college program is going to sign 8 to 12 players per year. Some are going to sign more, some are going to sign less. But this is kind of in general what it looks like. Now, there's a lot of high school players in this group 1. That's like the top of the funnel. And then the goal is to get into group 2, where college coaches start to follow, track, and know who you are. Then to increase the level of interest to get into group 3, which is a stronger follow. And if you're a 2025 or a 2024 right now, any college coach in the country can call you, text you, DM you. There's no restrictions. So it's important to understand, okay, this group 3 is when college coaches are willing to call and text and actively recruit you. If you're younger than that, I'll explain the other ways that college coaches show, their level of interest, whether it's group 2 or group 3. And then the goal is to get the schools down in here to group 4, which is where you're getting, invited recruiting trip, or you're getting a potential offer. But the interest has gotten to that point where the school's looking to really qualify you and make an offer. And then obviously the fifth group is you've been part of the signing and the commitment process, which doesn't happen until the senior year, officially. So there's verbal commitments that can happen earlier. But this is the high level breakdown. So what does the recruiting timeline look like? Well, we've talked to a ton of college coaches, even with the new rule changes that the NCAA passed back in late April. No college coaches can give a formal scholarship offer to a player until August of the junior year. That used to be, where 8th graders, 9th graders were getting offers. So that's changed. But it hasn't stopped how Division I schools are still recruiting players at young ages. So it's scouting. They're scouting players as early as the 8th, 9th grade. And those are more of the elite Division I programs. But as you look here, the 11th and 12th grade year, still a ton of recruiting is happening during that junior years, the big year. And then, like I said, the scholarship offers can happen as early as August 1 of the junior year. For Division 2, 3, NAI, and JUCO, the earliest the scouting will happen is usually the sophomore year. And so the big year for the lower levels is going to be the junior year, and then the summer before the senior year and the fall of the senior year, to really, solidify yourself on their recruiting board, for their recruiting class. We've seen college coaches recruit all the way until May, June of the senior year. It can happen that late. It's more stressful the later it goes. And the big takeaway here is you want to be in this recruiting window. Ideally, you want your window to be as big as possible. And the goal is that you continue to move up the recruiting board with as many schools during that while that recruiting window is open, with as many schools at the same time. Because that puts you in a better position for more leverage and more opportunity. And so I hope I've made that point clear. I want to pause for a second here and just see if there's any questions in the chat on anything that we've covered so far, because we've covered a lot. But I want to just open it up. You can use the chat tool or you can use the question tool on Zoom. We're about halfway, through the masterclass tonight. And again, we've recorded this. So, and just to be clear, like, we could talk about recruiting for 3 straight days and not cover all the topics and everything. Our goal is to provide you a good overview and give you clarity around how the game's played, but also give you some actionable insights on what you can do, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and how to make the most of this opportunity, this window to take your game to the next level. If baseball's in your blood and you're passionate about it, then continuing to pursue being a student athlete at the next level it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to unmute, and I'll ask the Bell family to be able to just share some things that they were going through in terms of their journey. Let me stop the window here and let me look through the audience, and there we go. All right. Michael, I've allowed you to talk, and I'm going to allow Shannon to talk. Hopefully you guys don't talk over each other. Keep it a happy marriage, right?
I'm sure that's going to happen. Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Andrew, thanks for doing this for the school, and Coach Kukowski, appreciate your efforts here as well, obviously. And as Coach Kukowski said, one of his desires is to expand the reach of Colorado baseball, right? I'm a little bit more parochial on that, and this is Regis is my love, and trying to help the athletes and the families at Regis expand their ability to go out. And so, if you indulge me a couple of minutes, I'd love to just give you my perspective of this journey. This is going to be a crazy, exciting time for anybody that really wants to play at the next level, because you can do it from Regis. You can do it from this school, and Matt's put together an incredible program that gives you the opportunity to do that. Anybody that tells you that they've gone through this process and they're free from anxiety and they're free from stress, they're lying to you. Okay, this will be a very stressful time, right? And really, I think it starts with preparation. How you prepare to go about this and how you get educated. Being here tonight is incredibly important. The more that you get educated, the better you're going to be. I think Shannon will probably agree with me that we kind of felt like we were a little bit behind the curve most of the time, until we met kind of Andrew and his team. But so overall, this is a complete team effort, really. And so I think we had a great team in this. It starts with the athlete, and from the athlete, how are they participating in this? They're participating in it from an academic perspective, massively important. And I didn't know the importance of that kind of going into this. They're helping to identify schools that fit. They're putting together emails, and they're out doing videos and stats. And they're actually, it's incredibly important, kind of the social media promotion that you have to do. But a team like sportsforce helps you, kind of navigate that. And they're the ones on the front end doing the talking to the coaches, and you have to be able to present yourself in the right way. So the athletes obviously kind of key to this. Parents, you're involved in this. You're up to your hips in this, and making sure that this is your son's dream and not your dream, but you're going on school visits with them so they can help narrow down what they like, what they don't like, what's a good fit, what doesn't fit. You're, as Andrew said, you have seen me on the fence, taking video after video after video. You have to do that. You have to get, you have to be able to showcase your son. So it takes time to do that. Shannon set up a very regimented schedule for us to kind of go through this with Andrew, making sure that we're our son Andrew, to making sure that we're kind of doing all this and the coordination of this. So from the athlete to the parents to Matt Darr, probably one of the most important pieces of this whole puzzle. It's essential that you're on the same page with Coach Darr. He helps identify schools that fit for you. He gives you an honest assessment of whether you're a D1 player, D2 player, D3, JUCO, wherever it may be. You need to have that real honest assessment of what works, what doesn't. He will help guide you, and he'll help promote you. I'll tell you a story that Coach Darr set a set of dominoes falling for Andrew Bell after a PBR showcase up at Regis. Andrew put up some good numbers on a 40 time, and Matt Darr was in his office that afternoon calling coaches across the country to let them know what Andrew just did. And that just started phone calls for us. And that doesn't happen every day with any coach. He is essential to your process. He is the one guy that every college program that you talk to will call. And so he's important. What Andrew is talking about tonight with an advisor, you're going to come across that threshold of, do I affiliate with an advisor firm and help me through this process? Well, I can tell you that in our journey, we affiliated with an advisor at the outset, and it really wasn't a fit for us. But we got very fortunate, very grateful to become affiliated with SportsForce and Andrew, and they were our Sherpa through this process. I mean, and when somebody reaches the summit of Mount Everest, they get the picture and they get the glory, right? But you look behind them, and there was a whole team. There was a whole team of Sherpas that got them up there, right? Guys that have done it 100 times, right? This is probably the one and only time that you will go through this as a parent. Okay, go through this anytime, and you want to do it right. And so, what Andrew and his team, they reached out to college coaches. They were sending emails and making telephone calls on Andrew's behalf. They were crafting videos that we spent hours, and we sent them hours and hours of video, and they put it together. They helped us walk through conversations that we would have with coaches, because we wanted to actually have those conversations the right way. They helped interpret our interactions, with coaches and programs, and what this felt like, and what coaches were really saying. Were coaches just being nice, or were they actively recruiting you? It's hard to tell if you've never been through the process, right? They gave us insights on coaches. When we actually talked about coaches, they would call. Andrew had a couple of teams in Texas that were recruiting him. Andrew's team were able to call local coaches in Texas to say, "Hey, what do you know about this coaching staff? How do they interact with players? Do they have player development programs internally?" And so I think I'll flip it over to Shannon here in a second, but we always felt late in the process. I think until we met Andrew and his team, and then we felt like we were finally, getting up the curve. But they were always there for us, nights, weekends, when they're having dinner with their families. We're ready to have a conversation with a coach that's calling Andrew for a recruiting discussion, and Andrew Baindrick would jump out and coach us through the process. But the other kind of players on the periphery, Coach Kwiatkowski mentioned that he started the whole PBR program here in Colorado. Your PBR director, your local PBR director, Mark Wagner. It was Josh Reynolds for us. They're vital to the process. Your coaches, whether you used to use Jake Epstein for hitting, or Jason Hirsch and some of those guys, they can be incredibly helpful in this process. And as I turn it to Shannon, I'll offer, I'm here to help anybody out there in the Regis family. Happy to share our story. Happy to go through any process that will be helpful for you. Because again, stress-filled, anxiety-filled, but one of the most incredible feelings when our son Andrew was able to, through all of this process, accept and commit to an education and furthering his athletic career at Duke. It was an amazing fit for him that we couldn't do it without this whole team that was out there. So I encourage you to get educated, put together a great team, and listen to them and work through them. And Shannon, I'll turn it over to you if Andrew could unmute you, and I'll love to get your perspective as we went through this process together.
Yeah, no, that was great. I don't know that I have a ton to add. I think that the things that you pointed out were spot on. I would say that if I were going to add on to anything, I would just say that to say that everybody's journey in this is different is putting it mildly. And that's one of the biggest benefits of working with Andrew. We have two ABs. We can't even say AP, but it's one of the biggest things, because you're your friends, you could ask us, we can tell you about our experience. But the benefit of sportsforce is they've seen all of the experiences and they help you to make your own personal journey. The other thing that I would say is that, your high school coach absolutely is very important in this process. They definitely want to hear from them. They want to hear how you are, because although your grades are, they've got to be up there. College, just getting into college, period, is a challenge, but your character is a really big deal. These are grown men whose jobs depend on the performance of, 18 to, 20 plus year olds. And those aren't always the people making the best decisions in their life. So they want people with strong character. I'd also drive home the importance of fit. I work with college admissions on a regular basis, and I can tell you that, everybody's not meant to go to Harvard, and it's sometimes a good thing to go to a JUCO. Sometimes time is the greatest gift of all, with a late bloomer, somebody who may need grades to be pull up, whatever. I mean, I think you have to make the best decision for your own family. The other thing is that sometimes these kids think, well, I'm going to play D1 ball. I'm going to go to the MLB. And they don't necessarily think about, well, if they get injured, or, what if it's just too much? I mean, going to, a D1 commitment is a huge commitment time wise. So, and, it's a lot of pressure on these guys to perform, especially with the portal and everything else that's going on. So these are all important things. I'm also I think Andrew hit on it, when the advantages of helping you get into college. Right now, the admissions process is so tight and it's so challenging in many ways that if you have something that's going to work to your advantage, that they actually call a hook, that actually increases your chances. Sports is one of those things. The arts are one of those things. I mean, just if you have a special interest in something, it's one of those things. It's a strong thing. So it definitely increases your chances of admissions, especially in a highly selective environment. I have to say that my biggest thing, I agree with Michael on, was the team. And part of that team is having people who are trustworthy. Sometimes the news that has to be delivered to these boys is not necessarily what they want to hear. It can be disappointing as part of going through the process. You can watch your kid go from something that they absolutely love and just feeds them, to them feeling very discouraged and considering not even doing it anymore. I mean, you may be self-reflecting a little bit. And when that news has to be delivered, having it delivered by someone they know cares about them, and that they know that they believe in them, it actually helps, because they know that the person telling them knows more about them than the person who's giving them the bad news. And that's actually really important. And if it's your first kid, you feel like you're guinea pigging on your first kid, and it does not feel good. So to have someone hold your hand and be able to tell you, this is going to be, this is some things you can say, or things that you definitely don't want to say. Those are all great. Ultimately, your son's going to have to do a lot of the work. They're going to be the ones getting in front of the coaches. They're going to be the ones talking. They're going to be the ones performing. These college coaches know that they're, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. They get that. But, you want to make sure that you're respectful and you are presenting yourself in a good way. And again, like Michael, I'll gladly meet with anybody, tell anybody anything. We've had an amazing experience with Andrew and sportsforce. I feel like the information, looking back, that was given to us was accurate. It was good. When we asked for opinions, they were given in respectful ways and honest ways. And I appreciate all of that. So if I can, pay it forward, I'm in. Just give me a buzz. I think that's it for me. That's all. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Thanks, guys. Both of the, I think, kind of personalities that you have, you see, a father's kind of mindset and experience. You see a mother's mindset. And we like to say everybody experiences this recruiting process uniquely. And and the student athletes experience, as well with Andrew and what he went through. Everybody's going on a bit of an emotional journey. But it can be an enjoyable journey as well. With the right approach, the right plan. I think the Sherpa analogy, I love that one. As a climber, I get it. But just thanks guys for just sharing what you went through, and just being a resource to, the rest of the Regis family says a lot about, kind of the fiber and culture of the program here. I want to thank Coach for setting this up. We're going to go in a little bit deeper dive here. And I'm going to move, through some high level things. And I also want to share kind of some of what we did specifically with Andrew Bell that both Michael and Shannon were alluding to. And give you some actionables here. So high level, what we look at, this is a very simplified version of the roadmap to success. And I think what both Shannon and Michael alluded to is it does take a village to be as successful as you can in this process. And getting everybody on the same page is a big deal. But first, it starts with understanding where you are. That's your athletic, academic, recruiting status, and where you are on the recruiting timeline, creating that honest recruiting evaluation. The next one is using that evaluation to then build the right target list of schools. The third one is, how do you now, with the right target list of schools, how do you get exposure? Online exposure and in-person exposure. And you all are getting hammered with different showcases and camps, emails to consider. You can't go to them all, and a large majority of them are a waste of time and money. So being strategic with your time and your resources financially as well. The next one is the coach references, relationships, and college coach connections. Making sure you got a team of people to support, you as a player, being a positive reference, using their relationships, being able to contact coaches as well. That's the way the recruiting game is being played now. The players that have more relationships and references, they have an advantage versus the player that maybe only has one person speaking positively about them. And then qualifying the interest and the offers. And this is an important deal, because a lot of coaches can string players along. And if you remember that slide I showed you with the recruiting funnel, you can be a player that's in the group too as a follow, and the coaches are, kind of keeping you along with little updates here and there, maybe a text, maybe an email, and it feels like you're getting more interest than you are. So qualifying that interest is a big deal. And then when you get offers, making sure you have the right approach to how to handle the offer, because college coaches can put pressure on you. They can try to, play around with timing, with some of the financial offer and package that they can do. And it's just the goal is you try to get as many schools interested at the same time so that they make offers ideally within a same window, so you can cross-reference the schools at the same time and be able to make the best decision. And then the final piece is making the commitment. First, it's a verbal, then it becomes a signed, binding commitment. And then once that's done, then you still got to get ready to make that jump to the next level of college baseball. And so it's important that, it's really an end-to-end, process. And the way the transfer portal is now, the freshman year becomes a really important year, especially for Division I, to be able to make an impact or be ready to stick at that school. And not every school recruits the same. Some schools are recruiting players and they're kicking them out, right away as freshmen if they're not ready. Not all schools are that way. Some have a longer leash in terms of their recruiting process. So I just wanted to paint this picture of what this recruiting roadmap looks like as you think about, where you are. It starts with understanding that that recruiting evaluation. And I want to highlight something here before I talk about camps and showcases. Is for us, for every position, we've broken down what the data says about where college coaches are looking and at different levels. So we've broken college baseball into 10 different levels. So we look at a right-handed pitcher, and this is not an exact science. It isn't just you're 6'3", 200, you throw this and it's a slam dunk, you're going to go to a high Division I school. Or you're not 6'3", you're not 200, that you're not going to go to a high Division I school. But this is based on a lot of the data that we've done, over a decade of research on. So for us, every athlete comes through a process when we do an evaluation to better understand. Typically, you fit into 2 different levels. Rarely one level, but usually it's 2 different levels. This helps build out the target list. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through. I'll pull up Andrew's sportsforce profile here. And so obviously the metrics, really speak for themselves in terms of a high level Division I potential prospect. So then we work together, obviously getting the video, everything organized, from a highlight video standpoint. If you look at Andrew's video, there's PBR footage. And we want, why did we position the 60-yard right away? Well, we need to show the speed. That's a huge tool. Then we get right into hitting. And every position's a little bit different. And every player's a little bit different. But you got to feature the best stuff. And you got to grab these coaches' attention within 20 or 30 seconds or you'll lose them. And then this is video from Game Changer. So for us, it doesn't matter where the video comes from. We're going to grab it, whether it's PBR, Game Changer, from footage that, the family and parents shot. And, you get an idea here. This is just parent shot video. There you go. I don't know if that was Michael or Shannon, but one of you guys, you got us some parent shot video that we needed. And then there was a bunch more video that was shot, the fielding footage that we requested as well. So video's huge in this process. Consistent video is also a big deal because college coaches need updates. They need to see the player developing over time and progress. Then the whole resume piece. Obviously, I'm not going to go into everything with Andrew, but and then with all the metrics, we will verify the metrics from anywhere, whether it's perfect game, PBR, a cage workout at, throw performance or push performance or, fast arm care, whatever it is. We'll validate and take metrics from anywhere to add to the profile. But then what helps is this evaluation with the video and the metrics then starts to help put a plan together for how to build out the target list. And so within our system, we've created the most data-driven college baseball search engine on the planet. And we looked at the data for every college at every different division. So we use this data to then start to build out a target list of schools. And so I can look at the athletic data from D1 to JUCO. We can look at all the academic data to be able to help build this out. Then we can jump into the regions of the country and break them all up into the region or the state, the size of the school, the tuition of the school. One thing I would say is don't worry about the cost of college and the sticker price at this point right now. The reason being is unless you're going to have to pay the sticker price, if you're being recruited for baseball, there's a high probability that that sticker price is going to get lowered. It might be lowered academically. It might be lowered from an athletic scholarship amount. It might be lowered with some financial help, or all three. Might bring the total cost of attendance from $75K a year, down to $15K a year. So why worry about the sticker price unless you don't have to pay it? So, and then searching by the major of the school and being able to come up with a target list. This is obviously just a very selective, because we're looking at the academics, but for Andrew, like building out a target list, it was 35 schools. So he had, strong interest from a dozen schools. He was inactive in regular conversations with 10 schools. He ended up getting 4 offers. If he would have probably waited another 2 weeks, there probably wouldn't have been another 4 offers in place as well. But at the end of the day, it's about having a process to organize and put all this together. But you get the idea. It's not a small target list of like 10 to 15 schools for most athletes. For us, the average athlete has a target list of 30 to 40 schools. Sometimes it's over 50, sometimes it's under 30, but kind of gives you an idea. What the family spoke about in terms of the email campaigns, what we do is we take every school that's on the target list. And let me go back here, and I'll just go to Arizona State, where I went. So we have all the coaches' information updated on a monthly basis. We keep track of the information. So we have the emails, we have the social media accounts of every school and every program. And so that helps us just stay on top of this process. But also when we do our outreach to coaches, we craft exactly what should be sent to the coaches. What's in the subject of the email, what's in the body of the email, the metrics, awards, the upcoming schedule. Because this helps eliminate any guesswork from the athlete or the parents of what needs to be done. Then when we send out this campaign, we send it from our system to all the coaches at every school, and then we can track and measure which coaches are opening the emails, which coaches are viewing the profile, watching the video, and then we share that with the family. We also share that as an advisor, how to be able to follow up with those schools, what to do, how to manage the process as well. And then above and beyond that, part of our process is also recommending the player to the colleges. So this is an example of something that I put together when I reached out to schools when I was using email, also reaching out over text and DM as well. But it helps to have advocacy and more support with college coaches, because college coaches are getting emailed by a ton of players. When Coach Dar can use his relationships, when we can use our relationships and contact coaches, it just helps that player move up the recruiting board with those different schools, because it's advocating for a player. Almost like if you ever had to hire somebody and those references for that potential hire are calling you and telling you, how well they did, at their last position and why they're worthy of being potentially hired. That's what's happening in the recruiting process. Getting advocacy and references are becoming more and more important these days. Coach Kukowski, anything you want to weigh on before? I just want to show a clear picture of how this process works. Coach?
Oh,
Kukowski?
sorry. I just was muted by accident.
Of course.
Yeah, and so one of the things I've come away impressed with the most is with SportsForce in regards to the email campaigns is the analytics they have on the back end that can not only show you, you know, who read the email, but also how many times it was opened and how many coaches in that school opened it. So speaking from my own experience with my son, using SportsForce, the first time that we sent out a campaign email to the 30 schools that we had, you could see this coach opened it and read it and then 6 times and it was looking at it. And that's helpful information because let's say if out of those 30 schools and however many emails that come back, or that we can see were read, if you're coming in like the 15 to 19% coaches actually opened the email and read it, we might need to adjust the colleges that you're looking at and favoriting. However, like I was excited, and I'm sure the Bells got more than my son, but when I got like a number of, I think 33% of them were read, that's actually pretty decent, 30 to 40% whatnot. So I mean, okay, we're kind of right around the area that we need to be in. We're not, dreaming too big or too small. We're kind of in the window of, okay, these are some possible opportunities and places we can play. But when you're doing this on your own, if I were to send out an email, none of us, I have no idea, if they read it or not. I know if they reply back to me, but I don't know what they did on it. So I think that right there is really impressive in some of the things that SportsForce can do and we can do with the analytics to help guide you on this, like Mr. Bell said, journey that gives you anxiety, but little things like that it really helps, with the time you're putting in and not wasting it.
Yeah, I appreciate that additional, insight there. Just to kind of wrap up some of these keys to recruiting, here, it starts with understanding where you are from an academic, athletic evaluation and scouting benchmark standpoint, then building a curated target list, making sure you have a plan that's strategic and timely for the exposure and promotion piece. Some of you are 2026s and 2027s that are listening in. Like for right now, for some of you, it might just be getting organized and building a foundation in the process. For others, it might be, you're a Division I level prospect. You're just younger, but there's still some things to do to start generating, real active recruiting interest from schools, even though they can't call you. For some 2025s and 2024s, it might be, all right, we need to get better organized and make sure there's a plan in place for the promotion and generating as much interest. There might be schools that should know about you that have no idea who you are, that would be recruiting you if they did. For others, you might be further along in the recruiting process, and now you're trying to navigate college visits, college offers. Why aren't they offering? What's happening after a college visit, to understand where the level of interest is. Sometimes this recruiting process is difficult because college coaches don't just tell you what hand they're holding. They don't tell you where you fit sometimes on their recruiting board just openly. And so we, through our relationships, we get to find that inside information, and we just want to share it with the families to be able to help take the right approach next. The fourth piece is just that college coach advocacy, outreach, and just information. And then the final thing is deliberating over the college decision and then the college commitment, and ultimately ensuring the best college decision is made, setting yourself up from an athletic, academic, financial standpoint to really, as parents and players, feel safe, secure, excited, and ready for the next step. So those are just some high level things. On the camp side of things, I want to touch on this before we leave. Making sure you're being strategic with camps and showcases. qualifying the level of interest, not just being marketed to for camps. So if you're getting emails with a bunch of camps, and in the bottom of the email, you can click an unsubscribe link, you can usually guarantee that that camp invite was sent to thousands of other players. Your goal is, when you go to a camp, is that the school is still recruiting your grad year and your position. Athletically and academically, you fit what they're looking for. And 5, they know who you are before the camp. Like Coach's son was invited to Colorado Mesa's camp. Like, it was a personal invitation through personalized communication with Joel and the family. So that's an investment that makes sense. Anyway, I could spend a lot of time on that. The other thing I wanted to touch on that was touched on a little bit earlier, but I don't think I hit it home, is leveraging Twitter. And so Regis does a really good job of getting video and putting things on Twitter that you guys can retweet. Andrew was very proactive in terms of how he was using Twitter. We know that not all players are as organized with, how they use social media, and sometimes need some social media training. And so Twitter's part of the deal. For younger players, any college coach in the country as a 26 or 27 can follow you on Twitter with no restrictions. They're even following 2028s that we know. But Twitter's important. What we do is, when we work with families one-on-one, is we feature the athlete on Twitter. This video got 7,000 views. We have 56,000 followers on Twitter. A ton of college coaches follow us. So just knowing that, yes, it is another channel of this recruiting process, but social media and really Twitter is where a large majority of college coaches are using Twitter to be part of their recruiting mix, to help them stay relevant and also keep an eye on players. So, kind of in summary, as a company, we have 2 ways that we work together with families. One is we have a platform that we provide more of a do-it-yourself offering that's available, more affordable. That is the college profile, or the athlete profile, the college search engine. And then we have our one-on-one advising when we work with families. Now, that's not something that we do with every family that has interest in working with us. We don't have the ability, to work one-on-one with every family based on the time and energy that it takes. Plus, we need to make sure that it's a good fit to be able to do that. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear, just in terms of what we do. When we do work with a family one-on-one, before considering partnering and creating that partnership, we typically set up usually a 45 to 60-minute Zoom meeting, or in person sometimes, but usually over Zoom based on convenience, to walk through the evaluation, to walk through if this is a good fit and what the game plan is, and if we feel confident that we can help, generate real recruiting results. And so in terms of, and we have different programs that vary on the amount of video marketing, college coach outreach, and advising that we do. And it depends also on, the grad year of the athlete as well. So in terms of when we work one-on-one, or in terms of the do-it-yourself offering with our platform, we've put together for Regis an opportunity to take advantage of the platform that we offer. And I'm going to walk you through. That's the profile, the metrics, where we also do the verification, the video, photo, the college search system, all the college contact information being updated on a regular basis, recruiting resources, our masterclass library. So this is the recruiting bundle that we've put together. The membership, which is normally $299 per year. The video library of masterclasses, $99 value. The masterclass tonight, another $99 in value. Plus the college recruiting evaluation, another $199 in value with Coach Kakowski. So total value, $696, total savings, $496. We're providing it to the Regis families as part of this partnership for the $199 for the first year. The next year it moves up to $299. But we wanted to make something that we could offer to the entire program, knowing that we're not going to be able to work one-on-one, with every family that is within the Regis program. So I'm going to share this with you to be able to, and I need to give you a discount code as well, which is right here. And we'll follow up and share this in an email. I'll also, put it in the chat here. But at a minimum, creating a foundation for this recruiting process and having a profile that's verified stats and video, this has become a must in terms of how the recruiting process is happening nowadays. To the coach's point earlier around making it easy, spoon feeding these college coaches with the information that they need is part of this recruiting process. And so I'm going to throw this in the chat before we open it up for additional, questions about anything that we've covered in the recruiting process. And so I put the link in the chat, everything that's included. If you click on the link there, that's in the chat, I'm going to pull that up just so you see exactly what's provided. And let me share my screen here. So if you click on that link, that's the Stripe link. When you go here and you add the promotional code DIY100, you have to add that to get that discount. And then, of course, if this is something that you want to take advantage of, then you'll put in, your contact and payment information. But we wanted to leave, and build this partnership with something that we could offer of tremendous value above and beyond everything that we've went over today. And what Michael mentioned and what Shannon mentioned is getting educated, getting on the same page, understanding and evaluating what is the support that you need, and really where you are in the process. As part of, this program here, we'll evaluate anybody and everybody in the Regis program and shoot you straight with where we think you are on the recruiting timeline, academically, athletically, and what's going to be the critical next steps that you can take. So, Coach Kakowski, any final words before we open it up, for some Q&A?
No, I think it's great. I think Coach Dar left, but some of the families that are on this, I know I've met before. I appreciate your time being here tonight. I'm available as well. If there's any questions you have for myself, anytime you need to. Regis has always been such a great program, and I don't miss coaching against you guys so anymore, but when I used to be at Highlands Ranch. But no, thanks for your time tonight, and then look forward to hopefully meeting some of you.
Yeah, okay, we got some questions coming in. When should we be active and starting this process for a 2027 grad? So this is a great question. As a 2027, the recruiting process already starts academically. Your grades as a freshman start to count toward this recruiting process. My recommendation would be, if your son is already showing a strong interest in potentially playing at the college level, then it's a good time to start getting video it's a good time to start getting stats and metrics and start getting organized. That doesn't necessarily mean they're ready for showcase camps or, big individual showcases with colleges. It also doesn't mean that maybe makes sense to build out a target list yet. There's a number of families that we work with where we delay building out the target list because we want to continue to see some updates academically and athletically before we feel comfortable with building out a formal target list. So I hope that answers your question. Having a foundation in place for this is important. The youngest players that we work with right now are 8th graders. So to put that in perspective, we've identified a small number, a percentage of our families that we partner with. The athletes are in the 8th grade and they're showing exceptional talent and getting the grades as well, but they're showing like Division I level talent in the 8th grade for college coaches. And we know college coaches want to keep an eye on some of the best 8th graders in the country. Is there an easy way to identify showcases or camps that are worth it? Seem to get a new email or invite weekly. So Coach Kukowski knows your pain. His kid and him get tons of camp invites. So simple questions that I went over earlier. Is a camp worth it? The questions come down to, is that school on your target list? Is a big kind of initial question. Number 2 is the camp invite or interest, is it qualified and has it been, personal, or is it just you're part of a big mailing list and they blasted it out to you? The other things that I went over are they still recruiting your son's grad year, your son's position? Does your son academically and athletically fit what they're looking for? And then number 5 is, do they know who your son is before you go to the camp? That's like those check boxes. We want yes, 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 yes on those before buying the plane ticket, getting the hotel, spending usually $2,000 to $3,000 on a out of town camp or showcase. So there's no easy way to identify it except for kind of answering those questions is my takeaway. And part of our responsibility when we do work with families is also safeguarding them from wasting time and money chasing down the wrong stuff and strategically hunting the right stuff, the right events. Coach, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I couldn't agree more about the camps. And then sometimes some of the camps, like you said, you can unsubscribe for the mail, but on top of it, some of them come in to your mailbox look pretty legit, and then you go to it and it's like 150 people there, and so then you kind of learn, well, I ain't gonna go to that camp again, I guess. But sometimes it's that way too. But I think what we really do a good job of is eliminating those from happening, more than once. And then I was in the realm of showcases for 6 years when I ran them for PBR. And, I can probably tell you what showcase for PBR to go to, because the ones that they run are the ones that I started and created, and they're still the same. And for the most part, the big ones, they're big events, they're high profile events. And so, I know that there's also showcases though that are money grabs, just like camps are.
Yeah, we feel for you guys. There's a lot out there. There's a lot coming at you, and it's coming fast. And so, being able to filter out the best decisions, the right path and plan, is part of, why we have a service that we do, because of the complexities of this. Let's see. Looks like we might have another question. So in the bundle package offer, what level of access to your expertise will we have to navigate schools and setting up the profile? So Mark asked this question. So with the, let me take you back to the, obviously for $199, There isn't a ton of individualized guidance here, based on time is money for everybody. But what's included that coach is willing to do is set up a meeting to go over the recruiting evaluation. If your profile's been built out, that'll be part of that meeting. And that'll help also give some guidance on, potential initial like target list and how to start thinking about using the platform from that standpoint to get the most value out of it. But outside of that one-on-one recruiting evaluation, with this membership, there is not additional video editing or one-on-one guidance or any college coach outreach, or else we would run out of business very fast. So let's take a look at the next question here. Hope that answers that question clearly. Can we use that code for our freshman at Regis and our 8th grader who isn't at Regis? Yes, you can, if you guarantee your 8th grader is going to come to Regis and you're willing to put that in writing. I'm just kidding. But yes, you can take advantage of that as well. This is something, again, you can't go to our website and try to sign up for our do-it-yourself membership right now. And you definitely can't sign up for our one-on-one packages. We don't allow just anybody to do it. So we've created the partnership with Regis. This is, an awesome way to introduce this. And we have created other partnerships with other, travel ball teams like the Slammers. We've created partnerships with other high schools, but it's not something that we've made publicly accessible just for anybody to be able to jump on and get started with us. So that won't always be the case, but that's where we are now with this. Let's see, any other questions? I think a big question here that I'd leave you with is, one thing we didn't talk about is the importance of how you as a player or your son is prepared for conversations with college coaches. And that's the voice-to-voice phone calls or Zoom calls that you as a player are going to have. And making sure that you're ready for those conversations. You know what questions to ask the coach. You know what questions to expect. Sometimes how to, respond or ask difficult questions of the college coaches as well. And then what's the difference between the first initial couple calls as interest builds and an offer's getting close, how to handle that. And then when an offer's made, how to sometimes buy yourself time, how to deflect, how to make sure you can visit the school. And then as parents, making sure you know what questions to ask, how to handle the financial questions that are going to come up, and be able to feel comfortable, confident in the communication with college coaches as well. How much value is there in a game changer athlete profile? I'm not 100% clear on what all the benefits are that the game changer profile has. I doubt that they have the verified metrics, the college search engine, all the college coach contact information. It's probably more of just a simple resume for your profile. But I'll do some research on that. That's a good question that I can look into. Let's see, another question, types of videos for pitchers. I'll let coach handle this one because I gave him a bunch of, instructions to get video of his son at this last weekend. So coach, what type of videos to get for pitchers?
Well, and I'm also a television productions teacher too still. So the main thing you want to do when you're taking video is don't take it vertically, take it landscape. That's one of my things that you got, make sure you get the landscape. And I know that working with some of my clients, a lot of people are using their game changer videos to put on their profiles, but the only problem with those, sometimes it's too far away. So for a pitcher, me personally, I set up right behind home plate and I zoom in a little bit, maybe get a little bit off angle so the umpire's not in the way. But that's, I think, the best place is to film behind home plate, not off to the side unless you're at a college stadium and you can't get behind home plate. But yeah, I would definitely try to get as centered behind home plate as you can, and with that phone, I'll say this real quick. My son playing last spring, I was coaching at Arapahoe, and it's not really professional to have my phone out with my son up at the plate or pitching, but I had my wife behind home plate all the time, getting as much video as she could. So in these new smartphones now on the app and on the iPhones, I mean, those cameras are so good, you can zoom in so well. That was me at Metro getting film. That's about as close as I could get that day, but a little bit off center to where the coach can see, the action of the off speed, and the movement of the fastball too.
Yep. And then if your son is doing, some video or some bullpens, you can get video of a bullpen during an indoor or outdoor, bullpen as well. If you're a player, you can give your phone to another player and say, hey, shoot me from behind, throwing a bullpen, 10 feet behind me, be able to get that kind of pitch angle. Same thing with hitters, give your phone to another player, say, hey, get my batting practice. You can get their footage on their phone for their batting practice. Like players, it's important you're proactive in this process as well. Now, I know during the high school season, maybe coach doesn't want you to get a bunch of film and worry about that, but Regis does a damn good job of you guys getting film. So the Game Changer and some of the other things that I've seen. And I guess one other thing, if you're not following us yet on Twitter, I'm going to put our link in the chat. Highly recommend being able to do this. So let's see. Any other questions here? I think listen, we could talk about this again for a long time, but I put Coach Kukowski's email in the chat earlier. I'm going to throw it in here again as well. We'll send a follow-up email. We'll also put together the recording of tonight as well, so we can edit it and put this together. And then let me just put back in the Regis recruiting bundle discount offer as well, so you guys have that. That link is not going to be available, once we shut down this Zoom. So I'll send it. We'll send it in a follow-up email tomorrow evening with the discount code. Oh, shoot. Hold on. So let me send this again. So the discount code is not DIY 2023. It's DIY 100. So please go to the last chat that I sent earlier, and not the other one. But Michael, want to thank you for, just sharing your family story and what Andrew and you and Shannon went through. It was very spot on and heartfelt, and just helps crystallize, what often families are experiencing in this process. And why are we passionate about this? Because we know the game of baseball plus the academics can create a life-changing college experience for young men. And we know that the game, if they continue to keep a jersey on their back, the game's going to continue to open up more opportunities than just being a normal student in college. And the life lessons that baseball can teach, go beyond just the field. They'll apply to being a potential business owner, a leader, a teacher, whatever it might be. And so that's why, we're so passionate about what we do. And we're accessible. Myself, Coach Kukowski, as part of this partnership, consider us allies in the journey that you and your son and your family are going on. And this is just the beginning as part of this partnership. And I think it's going to be just a really long-term, healthy partnership and relationship. And Coach Kukowski, I want to thank you for your time. Coach Dar, who left earlier, It just shows a great sign of leadership to be humble and honest enough to know that it helps to have more support, for the program to take Regis to the next level. So thank you everybody for your time tonight. This has been awesome, and we will be in touch. Take care.
Thank you very much.